Have you ever wondered why some people seem perfectly content with things that drive everyone else absolutely crazy? Why do certain situations that make most folks want to pull their hair out actually bring a sense of peace to others? Well, if you're an INFJ or know someone who is, you're about to discover something fascinating. There's a whole list of things that most people can't stand, but INFJs? They don't just tolerate these situations. They actually find them quite pleasant, even necessary for their well-being. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious world of the INFJ personality type, also known as the advocate or the counselor. These rare individuals make up only about 1 to 3% of the population, and their perspective on life is so different from the mainstream that what bothers everyone else often becomes their sanctuary. So buckle up, because we're about to explore 8 things that everyone complains about except INFJs, and trust me, some of these might surprise you. 1. Being alone for extended periods. Let's start with something that sends most people running for the hills: being alone for days, weeks, or even months at a time. While extroverts panic at the thought of spending a weekend without social interaction, and even many introverts start feeling restless after a few days of solitude, INFJs? They're in their element. You see, INFJs don't just enjoy solitude, they absolutely need it to function properly. It's like oxygen for them. While others complain about loneliness eating away at their sanity, INFJs are busy recharging their emotional batteries, processing their thoughts, and connecting with their inner world in ways that constant social interaction simply doesn't allow. During these extended alone periods, INFJs aren't sitting around feeling sorry for themselves or desperately scrolling through social media looking for connection. Instead, they're having deep conversations with themselves, working through complex emotions, and often coming up with creative solutions to problems that have been bothering them for months. It's their time to think without interruption, to feel without judgment, and to simply exist without having to manage other people's emotions, which, let's be honest, is something INFJs do way too much of in their daily lives. The beautiful thing about INFJs and solitude is that they genuinely enjoy their own company. They find themselves interesting, their thoughts worth exploring, and their inner world rich enough to keep them entertained for hours on end. While others need constant external stimulation and validation, INFJs have built an entire universe inside their heads, complete with fascinating ideas, creative projects, and meaningful reflections. 2. Canceling social plans at the last minute. Here's something that'll make most people absolutely furious: when someone cancels plans at the last minute. Friends get offended, family members feel rejected, and social groups start questioning your commitment. But INFJs? They breathe a sigh of relief. Now, before you think INFJs are just flaky or don't care about people, let me explain what's really happening here. INFJs are incredibly sensitive to their energy levels and emotional state. They can wake up on the day of a planned social event and immediately know whether they have the emotional capacity to be on for other people. And here's the thing: when an INFJ shows up to a social gathering while emotionally drained, nobody benefits. INFJs are natural givers in social situations. They listen deeply, offer support, remember important details about everyone's lives, and often end up being the emotional support system for the entire group. This isn't something they can just phone in. When they're not at their best, they know they won't be able to give others the attention and care they deserve, and they'd rather cancel than show up and provide a subpar experience. While others see last-minute cancellations as rude or inconsiderate, INFJs see it as being honest about their limitations and protecting both themselves and their friends from a potentially draining interaction. They'd rather reschedule for a time when they can be fully present than force themselves through an evening where they're just going through the motions. The irony is that INFJs often beat themselves up more about canceling than the other person actually cares. They'll spend hours crafting the perfect apology text, worried about disappointing someone, when in reality, true friends usually understand that sometimes life happens. 3. Deep, heavy conversations about life's meaning. Picture this: you're at a party, and while everyone else is talking about the weather, the latest TV shows, or weekend plans, there's one person who wants to discuss the meaning of existence, the nature of human connection, or what happens after we die. Most people will quickly change the subject or make excuses to walk away. But if there's an INFJ in the room, they'll gravitate toward that person like a moth to a flame. While others complain that deep conversations are too heavy, too intense, or just plain depressing, INFJs find them absolutely energizing. Small talk, on the other hand, that's what drains them. They'd rather have one meaningful conversation about someone's fears, dreams, or philosophical beliefs than spend an entire evening discussing surface-level topics. INFJs have this incredible ability to create safe spaces for these deep discussions. People often find themselves sharing things with INFJs that they've never told anyone else, because INFJs listen without judgment and respond with genuine empathy and insight. They're not trying to fix everything or offer unsolicited advice. They're simply present with you in whatever you're going through. These conversations that others find overwhelming or uncomfortable are where INFJs feel most alive. They're not interested in what you do for work. They want to know what drives you, what keeps you up at night, what you hope for, what you fear. They want to understand the real you, not the version you present to the world. The beautiful thing is that INFJs don't just tolerate these heavy topics, they actively seek them out. They'll be the ones asking the thought-provoking questions at dinner parties, the ones who remember the deeply personal thing you mentioned 6 months ago, and the ones who check in on you when they sense you're going through something difficult. For spending entire days without speaking to anyone. Here's something that would send most people into a panic: going an entire day or even several days without having a single conversation with another human being. While others complain about the silence being deafening and start making unnecessary phone calls just to hear another voice, INFJs find these wordless days incredibly peaceful and restorative. For INFJs, communication is an energy-intensive activity. Every conversation requires them to tune into the other person's emotions, choose their words carefully, and manage both their own and the other person's feelings. It's like being a translator, therapist, and diplomat all at once. So when they get a day where they don't have to talk to anyone, it's like a vacation for their nervous system. During these silent days, INFJs aren't suffering from loneliness or social isolation. Instead, they're enjoying the freedom to think their thoughts without having to articulate them, to feel their emotions without having to explain them, and to simply exist without having to consider how their words might affect someone else. They might spend these days reading, writing, creating art, or just sitting quietly and processing their experiences. They don't need to fill the silence with noise or seek out interaction to feel validated. The quiet gives them space to reconnect with themselves and their inner wisdom in ways that constant chatter simply doesn't allow. While others panic at the thought of going too long without human contact, INFJs understand that sometimes the most profound connections happen when you're alone, connections with yourself, with nature, with creative inspiration, or with something larger than yourself. 5. Being the one everyone comes to with their problems. Most people have limits to how much emotional labor they're willing to take on. They'll listen to a friend's problems for a while, but eventually, they start complaining about being everyone's unpaid therapist. They get frustrated when the same person keeps coming to them with the same issues, and they start setting boundaries to protect their own mental health. INFJs, however, seem to have an endless capacity for holding space for other people's pain. While others complain about being emotional dumping grounds, INFJs genuinely don't mind. In fact, they often feel honored that people trust them enough to share their deepest struggles. This doesn't mean INFJs don't get tired or overwhelmed sometimes, but their natural empathy and desire to help others usually override any frustration they might feel. They have this incredible ability to sit with someone in their pain without trying to fix it, change it, or minimize it. They can hold space for someone's darkest moments without getting pulled down into the darkness themselves. INFJs also have a unique gift for seeing patterns and connections that others miss. When someone comes to them with a problem, they don't just hear the surface issue, they see how it connects to the person's past experiences, their fears, their values, and their deeper needs. This allows them to offer insights and perspectives that others might not think of. The reason INFJs don't complain about this role is that it aligns perfectly with their core values. They want to make a difference in people's lives, to help others grow and heal, and to contribute something meaningful to the world. Being someone's trusted confidant feels like purpose, not burden. 6. Overthinking every single decision and interaction. While most people complain about overthinking and try to find ways to just go with the flow or stop analyzing everything, INFJs have made peace with their tendency to examine every angle of every situation. They don't see their deep processing as a problem to be solved. They see it as a feature, not a bug. INFJs understand that their overthinking serves important purposes. It helps them make decisions that align with their values, avoid potential problems, and understand the complex dynamics in their relationships. While others see overthinking as anxiety-inducing and exhausting, INFJs see it as thoroughness and conscientiousness. When an INFJ spends 3 hours analyzing a 10-minute conversation, they're not just being neurotic, they're gathering valuable information about the other person's emotions, motivations, and needs. They're looking for ways to be more helpful, more understanding, and more supportive in future interactions. This deep processing also helps INFJs trust their intuition. By thinking through situations from multiple angles, they develop a strong sense of what feels right and what doesn't. Their overthinking isn't random worry. It's strategic analysis that helps them navigate complex social and emotional situations with greater wisdom and compassion. While others complain that overthinking prevents them from enjoying the moment, INFJs find that their deep processing actually enhances their appreciation for life's complexities and helps them form deeper, more meaningful connections with others. 7. Having to navigate complex, emotional situations. Most people try to avoid drama at all costs. They complain when situations get emotionally complicated, when there are hurt feelings to navigate, or when they have to deal with conflict between friends or family members. They want things to be simple, straightforward, and drama-free. INFJs, on the other hand, don't run from emotional complexity, they dive right in. While others complain about having to play mediator or deal with someone's emotional breakdown, INFJs see these situations as opportunities to help, to understand, and to facilitate healing and growth. INFJs have this remarkable ability to remain calm in the center of emotional storms. When everyone else is panicking, taking sides, or trying to escape the situation, INFJs are asking thoughtful questions, listening to all perspectives, and looking for ways to help everyone involved feel heard and understood. They don't see emotional complexity as something to be avoided or fixed quickly. They see it as part of the human experience that deserves attention and care. While others want to sweep difficult emotions under the rug or tell people to just get over it, INFJs understand that healing takes time and that emotions need to be processed, not dismissed. This ability to navigate complex emotional situations without complaint makes INFJs invaluable friends, family members, and colleagues. They're the ones people call during their darkest hours, the ones who can help feuding friends find common ground, and the ones who can hold space for grief, anger, fear, and joy all at the same time. 8. Feeling misunderstood by most people. Here's perhaps the most significant difference between INFJs and everyone else. While most people complain bitterly about feeling misunderstood and spend enormous amounts of energy trying to get others to get them, INFJs have largely accepted that being understood by the majority is not going to happen, and they're okay with that. This doesn't mean INFJs don't value being understood. They absolutely do. But they've learned to find understanding in quality rather than quantity. They'd rather have 1 or 2 people who truly see them than 100 people who only know their surface-level persona. INFJs understand that their way of thinking, feeling, and experiencing the world is fundamentally different from most people's. They process information differently, they prioritize different things, and they see connections and patterns that others miss. Rather than fighting this or trying to change themselves to fit in better, most mature INFJs have learned to embrace their uniqueness. While others complain about feeling like outsiders or struggle with imposter syndrome, INFJs often find peace in their role as observers and bridges between different worlds. They understand that someone has to be the translator between the analytical and the emotional, the practical and the idealistic, the individual and the collective. This acceptance of being misunderstood actually becomes a source of strength for INFJs. It frees them from the exhausting task of constantly explaining themselves or trying to fit into boxes that weren't designed for their particular shape. Instead, they can focus their energy on the people and causes that truly matter to them. 9. Dealing with highly sensitive emotions. While most people complain about being too emotional or wish they could just turn off their feelings, INFJs have developed a different relationship with emotional intensity. They don't see their high sensitivity as a weakness or something to be fixed. They see it as one of their greatest strengths. INFJs feel everything deeply: joy, sadness, anger, fear, love, disappointment. And while this can sometimes be overwhelming, they've learned to see their emotional range as a gift rather than a curse. Their ability to feel deeply allows them to connect with others on a profound level, to create meaningful art and writing, and to experience life with a richness that others might miss. Where others complain about crying at movies or getting their feelings hurt easily, INFJs understand that their emotional sensitivity gives them valuable information about themselves and the world around them. Their emotions serve as an internal compass, helping them make decisions that align with their values and navigate relationships with greater wisdom. INFJs have also learned that their emotional intensity often helps others feel less alone in their own struggles. When someone is going through a difficult time, they don't want to talk to someone who's never felt pain. They want to talk to someone who understands what it feels like to hurt deeply and has found ways to cope and grow from that pain. 10. Living in their heads more than the physical world. While others complain about INFJs being spacey or in their own world, and while society generally values being present and grounded in physical reality, INFJs don't apologize for spending significant amounts of time in their rich inner worlds. INFJs have incredibly complex and fascinating mental landscapes. They have entire universes of ideas, possibilities, connections, and creative visions living in their heads. While others might see this as escapism or avoidance of reality, INFJs understand that their inner world is just as real and valuable as the external world, sometimes more so. This tendency to live in their heads allows INFJs to be incredibly creative, to see possibilities that others miss, and to develop innovative solutions to complex problems. Their ability to mentally simulate different scenarios and outcomes helps them make better decisions and avoid potential pitfalls. While others complain that INFJs seem distracted or not fully present, what's actually happening is that INFJs are processing multiple layers of information simultaneously. They're not just hearing your words, they're also picking up on your tone, your body language, your emotional state, and connecting all of that to patterns they've observed in the past. 11. Being expected to fix everyone's problems. Most people would complain loudly if others constantly expected them to solve problems, offer advice, and provide emotional support without any reciprocation. They'd feel used, overwhelmed, and resentful about being everyone's go-to problem solver. INFJs, however, rarely complain about this expectation because it aligns with their natural inclinations and core values. They genuinely want to help others, and they derive a sense of purpose and meaning from being able to make a positive difference in people's lives. This doesn't mean INFJs don't sometimes feel overwhelmed by the constant requests for help and support, but they rarely complain about it because they understand that this is part of their role in the world. They see themselves as healers, guides, and catalysts for growth and positive change. INFJs also understand that with their particular combination of empathy, insight, and intuition comes a certain responsibility to use these gifts in service of others. They don't see this as a burden. They see it as their calling. The science behind INFJ differences. Understanding why INFJs don't complain about these things requires looking at the psychological and neurological differences that make them unique. INFJs have a different cognitive function stack than other personality types, which means their brains literally process information differently. Their dominant function, introverted intuition, allows them to see patterns, connections, and possibilities that others miss. This helps them find meaning and purpose in situations that others might find frustrating or overwhelming. Their auxiliary function, extrovert feeling, gives them a natural ability to tune into others' emotions and needs, making them more likely to see helping others as rewarding rather than burdensome. Research has also shown that highly sensitive people, and many INFJs fall into this category, have more active mirror neurons, which means they literally feel what others are feeling more intensely. This can make social situations more draining, but it also makes meaningful connections more rewarding. Why understanding this matters? Recognizing these differences isn't just interesting from a psychological perspective, It has practical implications for how we interact with the INFJs in our lives and how INFJs can better understand and advocate for themselves. If you're not an INFJ, understanding these differences can help you appreciate the unique gifts that INFJs bring to your life and relationships. Instead of trying to get them to be more social, more spontaneous, or more normal, you can learn to value their depth, their insight, and their genuine care for others. If you are an INFJ, understanding that you're not weird or broken for enjoying things that others complain about can be incredibly validating. You don't need to apologize for needing solitude, for processing things deeply, or for caring about others' problems. These aren't flaws, they're features. Conclusion. So there you have it, 8 things that drive most people crazy but that INFJs actually find quite pleasant, even necessary. From extended solitude to deep conversations, from emotional complexity to being everyone's trusted confidant, INFJs have learned to find peace and purpose in the very things that others actively avoid. This isn't to say that INFJs are better than other personality types, just different. Every personality type brings unique strengths and perspectives to the world, and we need all of them to create a balanced, functioning society. But understanding these differences can help us all be more compassionate toward each other and more accepting of our own unique ways of being in the world. If you're an INFJ watching this, I hope you feel a little less alone and a little more understood. Your way of being in the world is valuable and needed, even if it sometimes feels like you're speaking a different language than everyone else. And if you're not an INFJ but you have one in your life, I hope this gives you some insight into their inner world and helps you appreciate the unique gifts they bring to your relationship. The next time they need to cancel plans, want to have a deep conversation, or seem to be spending too much time in their own head, remember that these aren't problems to be fixed. They're just different ways of navigating this complex, beautiful, challenging experience we call life. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the INFJ experience. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more content exploring the fascinating world of personality psychology and human behavior.